Well, it is the first day of Ketchupathon, and I am going to get started on my first read. It is Sunday night. Krista and Amy are hosting opening readathon sprints. So I have those going in the background, and I am going to start with my flavor read, and I'm going to go with the sweet flavors, and I'm going to use Spinning Silver for that, which is a go-to genre or a go-to book. I always love a good fantasy, and this has been on my TBR since July of 2018. This has been a book that I have been meaning to pick up for so long, but I always wind up picking something else up, not because I'm not interested, it's just other things keep getting in the way. So I decided that I needed to start off with this book or I will never get it read, and this is a priority. So this is going to be the start of this book, and I'm excited because it is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I don't usually read a lot of like other retellings, like Rumpelstiltskin. I've never really even, I mean, I know the story of it, but I'm curious to see this take of it. But I did start this a little while ago. I was cooking and cleaning up the kitchen, so I popped in the audio to start. I only got a couple of chapters in, and I do have to say, do not start this on audio because there are multiple viewpoints, but they're not each in different chapters. So I think I only read or listened to like the first 2.5 chapters. And I didn't realize, because I got very confused, that like I was hearing 2 different viewpoints because one, it's the same narrator, but then also like where the breaks are, so you can see like there's breaks, it looks like it's going into like somebody else. So we start off with Miriam, who is the debt collector now because her father is not doing a very good job at, you know, being the money lender and collecting all the debts. So it's leaving them poor. So she decides that she needs to go out and take care of business. And then she comes in contact with a peasant girl, Wanda, and we then start getting some of her point of view. And then there's a third person. So I'm assuming that we're going to get that point of view later. I don't know what her name is yet because it doesn't even say the name in the synopsis. It just says Miriam, Wanda, and then the daughter of a local lord. So I do kind of know now, like, you know, I think I got to go back and skim a couple of chapters just because I was like all kinds of confused. I'll do a check-in probably around midway and let you know what I'm thinking about it. Let's do a little check-in. It is Thursday of the first week of Ketchupathon, and I am struggling a lot. I started with Spinning Silver, and I said I would check in probably at the halfway point. I am nowhere near the halfway point. This is dragging on so much. I am 185 pages in. I'm bored. I am so bored. There are so many 5-star reviews on this book. And I just, if I was to, I don't even know. Honestly, I might DNF this. But a part of me wants to stick with it because there were some like 3.5, 4-star reviews on Goodreads and Storygraph that are saying the beginning was so slow paced and just almost DNF for a couple of people. But then it all comes together amazingly, and that's where people love it. I don't know if I want to wait that long. So I was struggling with this by like day 3. By now, where I am, we have 4 different points of view. So we have Miriam, who is the money collector's daughter and granddaughter. And then, of course, she meets Wanda, the peasant girl whose father is abusive and can't pay off his debts. So as part of the agreement, Wanda goes to work for Miriam and her family to help pay off the debt. She has 2 brothers. They come into the picture. There's so much just between those 2. Then we get Miriam's story and point of view, and then we get Wanda's story and point of view. But there's no indication of when you're switching. So if you're listening to this on audio, it's going to be hard to follow. Even reading with my eyes, it takes me a minute sometimes to realize when we have switched point of views. The only indication that I know that we have switched point of views, like not like when I'm reading with my eyes, these little things indicate that we have switched point of views, but sometimes I'm not sure like right away whose point of view. And then we randomly get thrown in the third point of view, which is the Lord's daughter, or like the daughter of the local lord, who is the Lord's trying to marry his daughter off to a czar. And then her storyline comes in. And the magic system is weird. It's not weird. I don't want to say weird because it is like rooted in folklore, but I'm not following it. I don't know how any of these stories come together. I know that they do at some point, but again, I'm almost 200 pages in and we're just not getting anywhere. And this is a chunker of a book. A couple of days in, I decided to put this aside and pick up, oh, hi, Misty, and pick up another book. And I was excited for this one, A Rogue of One's Own. This is the second book in the League of Extraordinary Women companion series. And this is, I liked the first one. The first one was Bringing Down the Duke. And this one follows Lucy, who is one of the suffragettes and friends with, I forget her name in the first one. And she's out to buy or to acquire this publishing house, basically to do things like to undermine Parliament and try to get like her suffragette movement on the ground, off the ground, things like that. And she somehow comes into contact with her arch nemesis. That's what it says. She has to outmaneuver Tristan, who is her arch nemesis. I don't know. That's what it says. I don't even know how. Like, I'm just all types of confused with this one as well. It says she and her band of Oxford suffragists have finally scraped together enough capital to control one of London's major publishing houses with one purpose, to use it in a coup against Parliament. Like, that, self-explanatory, right? Like, their plan is to put out, papers and published work that has to do with the suffragette movement. Fine. But then she somehow partners unknowingly with Lord Ballantyne, who is Tristan, who is the one that is the rogue. I'm bored with this one too. This one is, I'm 155 pages in, or a little less. I'm about 150 pages in, and this one is about 400, like just over 400. I'm not enjoying this one either. And I don't know if it's just my mood. I don't know what's going on. I even thought listening to this one on the audio would help, but that's not helping at all. But I'm not having a good time. I think for now, I'm going to put aside Spinning Silver. I'm not sure if it's going to be a hard DNF yet. So I don't know where I stand with this one. I don't know if I'm going to put this aside also. Right now, I may just try to continue with my eyes, but I'm not feeling any type of tension really with the two of them. Tristan's story is kind of like sad. His father's very mean. I don't like that. So like, I'm more interested in that. So I think for now, I am going to definitely set Spinning Silver aside. I might try to read more of this, but I think I'm going to pick up something else. I'm not sure what. Maybe Mabel or The Philosopher's Flight. I don't know yet. I will let you know when I decide. My usual go-tos, which are fantasy and romance, are not pulling me in right now. I don't know if that's good or bad. Like, I don't know if I'm just in a slump or if I'm just not feeling these and just DNF and move on, because I was having trouble with the last book that I read that wasn't for Ketchupathon. So I don't know. I might just be in a slump, but we'll see. I'm going to pick up another book. For now, Spinning Silver is definitely getting set aside. Okay, I'm participating in reading sprints right now with Krista for Ketchupathon. She did some pop-up sprints, and I decided to continue with A Rogue of One's Own. I am a little bit more than halfway now. I am liking it a lot better. It's starting to pick up a little bit more. There's some interesting things that are starting to happen. So I think I'm gonna finish this out. I am going to also pick up, though, another book. I don't know, tonight, we'll see, but I think tonight I'm just going to stick with this. But maybe at some point, either before I go to bed or tomorrow, I think I'm going to start on The Philosopher's Flight. So I will check back in when I have some more updates and let you know some more of my thoughts and where I am going to end up as far as reading A Rogue of One's Own and Spinning Silver. Not sure yet. Right now, that's just set aside. I'm going to continue to read. I have my tea here that I made, and I'm just going to hopefully be able to relax for the rest of the night.
Good morning, or almost afternoon. Got a late start this morning, and I'm about to do my workout. But it's been a little bit since I checked in for Ketchupathon and this month's Book of the Month Vault. Last we checked in, I was struggling. I'm still struggling. It is Tuesday of the second week, which means there's only a few days left. And here's where I'm at. I finished A Rogue of One's Own. I finished yesterday. I struggled with this one. About 50% of it was so slow and just, it started off so annoying. Nothing was really going on. I also did not like the fact that the whole thing was based on the idea that Lucy wants controlling interest in the publishing house that she has to share with Tristan. Okay, because they both have the publishing house. She wants to use it for the suffragist movement, and he has other ideas and things like that. And in order to get full or majority share, he proposes an idea to bed her, if you will. I don't like that at all. It was just like weird and just transactional. I did not like that. I still pushed through. We got to the point where things start happening and we have some tension, we have some conflict, and things started like picking up. But that didn't really happen until about 60% through. And that's when I started to like kind of enjoy it a little bit more. So I did finish. I want to say I'm probably going to land on a 3 maybe. 2.5 is a little too low just because I did like the second half. I liked the ending of this, which is a little bit different than, what you would expect at, a Regency era. And it is Regency era. I thought it was a little bit later, but it is a Regency era time period. So that was my mistake. So that I did like. And I really liked the author's note. So Elvie Dunmore, she put a bunch of author's notes about the fact that she based this story off of letters that she found. She found letters similar to something that's going on in the book. It says she was inspired by a Victorian verse and a letter that she had come across during her research for bringing down the Duke. That she puts the stanza of the verse, and then the letter was by Mrs. Anne Brown Adams, daughter of U.S. American abolitionist John Brown, addressed to a Canadian abolitionist, Mr. Alexander Ross, sometime between 1870 and 1880. So she said she took some liberties with that, and I did like that. The ending, if there was more of what was going on in like the second half of the book earlier on, I probably would have rated this higher. So I'm struggling between maybe a 3. I don't know. But that's where we are. So I finished one book of Ketchupathon. Well over a weekend, but I finished a book. I still have not gone back to Spinning Silver. This is still as far as I'm in. I don't know if I'm going back to this. Maybe I'll try. I did, however, pick up Philosopher's Flight. I'm really enjoying this one so far. So this is taking place in 1910s, and it's part historical fiction, part science fiction, fantasy. Like, it's just a big old genre blend, and I really like that. I was a little bit nervous But I'm actually really enjoying it. I've been enjoying it since I picked this up. I haven't picked it up in 2 days. I haven't really picked up anything. I mean, I did listen to a little bit of this yesterday. I've just been so busy. I finally submitted my last assignment for my master's in library and information science. So that was taking up a lot of my time, but this is really fun. So we have Robert Weeks, who is being trained at an all-girls college to be a flyer, like a medevac. That's the, fantasy and science fiction part. What do they call it? The Sigurly Corps. I can't say that word properly, but anyway, so it's based off of empirical philosophy and like these runes and all these things, but it is a genre twist, not a genre twist, like a gender twist, because it's the men who are being kept out of doing something in 1910 America versus women, right? So it's an all women's school instead of an all men's school, and he's being like judged because he wants to do this career that only women do. Which is fly as a medevac or an evac and medical flight. I forget what they call it, but like just the flight rescue and evacuation department. So I really like that. And they come across some fanatical people, a group that wants to try to ban empirical philosophy. He meets somebody at the college who is a fanatical on the other side, where he's, hey, stop that. I missed you scratching at my workout mat that I'm about to use. So like this is really fun and interesting. I could probably finish this today. I am more than halfway through. Actually, I think I'm a little bit further. I stopped reading with my eyes at chapter 25, but I did listen. So I think I'm like up to chapter 30 now. And I am excited. I didn't know until recently, though, that this is a series. Or I don't know if it's a duology or just a series, but there is another book. So based on how this ends, I might go pick up the second book. I'm kind of upset because at one point the second book was offered as an add-on for Book of the Month. And, if I get the second book, it's not going to match, which kind of sucks. But oh well. So yeah, I'm enjoying this one. So that's where I am. I do still want to pick up 2 more books. My goal was 5 books. I do not know if I'm going to get to all 5. I am definitely picking up Mabel, which is probably going to be the next book that I pick up now that I have finished one. That's going to be my next one. And I do still want to read Silver Elite. That's going to fulfill my fantasy prompt. And see how that goes. I may take this further than just these 2 weeks, like in terms of trying to get maybe a 5th or 6th book if I don't get the 5 books, or if I DNF fully the Spinning Silver. I don't know. We'll see. But that's where I am. So I'm about to go work out. I have a couple of things that I want to get done. I've been working on some decluttering. I've been working on a project of that I've been seeing all over social media, this index card system, which I might have another video coming of that.
Okay, so I'm ready for another check-in, and I'm just propping you up here because Misty literally just left my lap, so I'm not going to get my stand right now. But anyway, I finished The Philosopher's Flight. I enjoyed this. There were a lot of mixed reviews. Some 3 stars, 4 stars, a couple of DNFs. I enjoyed this. Do I think it could have been maybe a little bit more fleshed out in some areas? Yeah. Like I would have liked to have known a little bit more about the sigils, the sigilry of, and like maybe a little bit behind the empirical philosophy stuff. But then I felt like maybe not, because that might have made it a little too boring and a little bit too much backstory. There was a lot of backstory on events that I feel like were setting the stage. There is a second book in the series, so I'm wondering if this was like more of a setting the stage situation because of how it ended. I gave this, I think, 3.5. I landed on 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I do want a little bit more from a couple of these characters that I hope to see in the second book. We'll see. I am going to pick up the second book. I do not think I'm going to buy it, though. I think it's going to be something that maybe I get from the library. but I enjoyed this. So yeah, I landed on 4 stars. And this is my, I believe it was a graham cracker or lattice. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at the prompts. But this was my very bright cover. This was the bright cover because of the dust jacket. That was very bright yellow and blue. So that is where I am. So I have 2 books completely finished. I did start Mad Mabel today on audio when I was working out. I'm 5 chapters in. This is a very short read, so I have a feeling that I'm going to get through this fairly quickly. The goal is to finish this. Today's Wednesday, maybe by Friday, and then pick up Silver Elite. That audio also came in, so that's something that I can probably throw on again while I'm, cleaning and driving and working out, things like that, once I finish this. And then we'll see. I don't know how many more I'm going to get done because it is Wednesday and Sunday is the last day. I will definitely get Mad Mabel done. I most likely will get Silver Elite done. Spinning Silver is a DNF for me. I don't think I'm ever going to pick that back up. I am 200 pages in. I'm bored to death. I'm DNFing them. And that one, and it's coming off my shelves. So that's that. I'll let you know how Mad Mabel is going once I get a little bit further in. It's been a few days since I did a check-in, and I never really did a midway check-in of Mad Mabel, but I started this a couple of days ago, and I am flying through this. I am reading with my eyes and listening to the audio. This is a fairly short book, and I have thoughts. The whole sanity is subjective thing. I mean, reading this story, first of all, Mabel, or Elsie, Mad Mabel. Obviously, there's things that happens that obviously she got arrested, right? But we're trying to figure out what was going on. Did she commit the murder? Or was it self-defense? Or did she not do it at all? Like, what's going on, right? And her childhood scenes are so sad. Her father is so cruel, and I hate him so much. And he has it out for his daughter for reasons that we don't know if, like, he made this up or if it actually happened. But even still, she was 3 when the situation happened. And he's just so vile. I hate that. Her mom is clearly a troubled soul. We get that throughout this entire story. Anytime she talks about her mom. And it just breaks my heart. Childhood Mabel. How she gets the name Mad Mabel. Why she gets that name. And then the kids call her Mad Mabel for something they don't even really know. There is a situation, child sexual abuse. So, trigger warning there. That is not something that I really expected, but it makes sense. And also, it's not graphic, but it's enough that it should turn your stomach. Now, her Aunt Sass, I love her. She is her mother's sister, and the fact that she is going to do anything to protect this little girl, especially from her father, I love that so much. I love her relationship with Mabel, although we're starting to see that maybe something is going to happen there. I don't know. I'm hoping that that relationship does not get blown apart. So those are some of my thoughts on her childhood storyline. Now, her adult storyline, we got this little annoying child, Persephone. She's 7 years old. She is the epitome of the annoying child. Like, listening to her on audio is killing me. Like, so annoying. But, like, it's done on purpose. Reading her sections also annoying, but also her story is heartbreaking as well. Her mom's, Roxanne I think is her mom's name, single mother, has to work all these crazy hours to try to support the two of them. And Mabel has, or well, she calls her Elsa instead of Elsie, because she's in love with Frozen's Elsa. And nobody likes her. Everyone knows she was Mad Mabel in the neighborhood. When I forget his name, but one of the neighbors dies, they all think it's her. They all think that she is just this crazy old woman who committed this murder, and something was just not right with her as a kid. And there's a scene where the nosy neighbor Joan, the one who's always causing problems, who has it out for her, kind of figures out maybe what's going on, or like tries to help her. I don't know. But I'm curious to see, because now I'm at the point where I feel like everything's coming together. So I'm 250 pages in. I'm at chapter 52. So I got about 100 pages left, a little less than 100 pages. So I'm gonna finish this now, because the situation that I believe she gets convicted of is about to come to light. I don't know what's gonna happen with the modern day storyline. I'm just curious to see how this is all gonna wrap up. I'm hoping that my predictions are sort of right. I have a feeling, I think I know where something's gonna turn, but I don't know. I'm sitting outside because it has been beautiful out. I think it's only like 80. There's a breeze, so I've been trying to sit outside a little bit every day to read, just because I need some fresh air. Once I finish with this, tomorrow is the last day of Ketchupathon, and I haven't even started this. I do still plan on reading Silver Elite. I am going to start this today. However, that print is so tiny. I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to extend Ketchupathon by a few days just to finish this. Going to see how far I can get. I don't think I'm gonna finish it though. So we'll see how that goes. What keeps getting me is that all these things keep happening. When she's a child, now that she's an adult, but when she's a child, all of these things keep happening, these accidents or these things that don't look like foul play, but they're all surrounding her. And Mabel keeps saying, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. What's going on here? I need to know. It's definitely set up that way on purpose, obviously, because we're sitting here thinking the worst, or maybe taking her side. I don't know. What I do know is that every single one of these situations, with the exception of maybe one, I think, so far, is that they're surrounded by negative things when it comes to Mabel, horrible things that have happened to her. So yeah, I need to just power through. I also forgot to mention that I really like her best friend Daphne, and Mabel is in love with the book Anne of Green Gables, and it's her favorite book. She was given this as a child, and she wants to live out Anne's life. The best friend with Diana, like, Anne and Diana, the bosom friends, the love story with Gilbert, she thinks that she has this with somebody, and it's just like all these references that she's making. It's like, this is her book. I need to know what's gonna happen, because it could go either way, and it's just too coincidental. And again, I know that it's set up that way on purpose, because we're meant to think maybe it is her, maybe it's not her. I don't know. So that's what's killing me right now. and it's going really fast, like jumping back and forth between the two storylines. I'm more concerned about, like, honestly, her childhood story right now than her adult storyline, because I just feel like her adult storyline is just like idle gossip. But, you know, I am probably totally wrong on that. Now, as far as her friend Daphne, there was mention somewhere early on that Daphne was her downfall, and Daphne just made a comment that is making me wonder some things. Yeah, I'll see if my prediction is correct. I get the sanity is subjective now. I kind of wasn't expecting that, but a little part of me is not at all surprised. And I'm not even talking about the murder. Okay, I can't deal with this right now. We just got one right after another. Oh my god. And this part that I just got up to makes so much more sense now, with a scene earlier in the book that I was like, a little like, okay, what's going on here? But it makes sense now. And I'm not mad about it. I finished Mad Mabel. I'm going to land on 4.5. Not quite 5 for me. First of all, that ending, I think, was like a perfect ending. I think the transition from the story that she tells, like her truth, she's telling her story to them about what happened way back when, why she was convicted of this murder, what actually happened. And I had a small suspicion, because throughout the entire book, we're not sure who it is that was murdered. And it like leaves you guessing, because every single time something comes up, you think, is this the one that they're talking about? And then we find out the truth, who it is, what happens. And I kind of suspected a little bit, only because of how this was progressing. Like, this whole sanity is subjective thing. I understand why they thought what they thought and how they justified putting her away for this. What turns out, I kind of didn't expect that, actually, with one of the people in her life. I can't say a lot because it's going to spoil everything. But I do have to say that Persephone, although she's annoying, is endearing. And the way this whole story gets wrapped up, there's a little bit of a shocker. I really enjoyed this. Now, I don't think I've read anything else by Sally Hepworth, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying like it just was not it. It was not up to like what her normal writing is. So I'm curious to see what else she has written and whether or not I like it. Now, the reason why I'm not landing on 5 stars, can we like not show everyone that? Thank you. Say hi. Is because there was a little bit of some points where I felt like the story lagged a little bit. Like, it wasn't being propelled forward in any way. But it wasn't enough to take me out. And I think I'm going to land on 4 or 4.5. I am going to start this, not now because it is 3:30. I got a couple things to do. I'm going to do some laundry, going to straighten up. Maybe I'll throw on the audio. But this one is going to fulfill my fantasy prompt, which I think means mousse, chocolate mousse filling. I think this is my filling. So Silver Elite, it is the first in a series, and I'm sorry, but I'm trying to do this while she's getting comfortable. Anyway, so it's the first book in a dystopian romance series. I'm not sure about that, but anyway. Psychic gifts are a death sentence, and there are rules to survival. Trust no one, lie to everyone, and whatever you do, don't fall for your
your greatest enemy.
Ren Darlington has spent her whole life in hiding, honing her psychic abilities, and aiding the rebel uprising in small ways. On the continent, being modified means certain death, and Ren is one of the most powerful mods in existence. When one careless mistake places her at the hands of the enemy, she's forced to join Silver Block, their most elite training program. She's finally handed the perfect opportunity to strike a devastating blow from the inside of their ranks. Lie to everyone. But training in Silver Block can be deadly, especially when you're harboring dangerous secrets and living in close quarters with everyone who wants you dead. And whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. As the stakes grow even higher, Ren must prove herself, but that's easier said than done when your commanding officer is the ruthless and infuriating, irresistible Cross Redden, who doesn't miss anything when it comes to her. And as war rages, being mods like her are those who aim to destroy them. Ren must decide how far she's willing to go to protect herself and how much of the continent is worth saving. So I'm pretty sure, I mean, it says dystopian, but I'm pretty sure it was, I mean, the psychic gifts and everything. So I'm going to count it for fantasy. I'll do a little check-in, let you know how it starts off and what I do. I'm hopefully going to finish by tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to.
Okay, so I didn't start reading Silver Elite yet. I'm actually going to throw on the audio right now because I got in the mail this bamboo shelf thing. And I want to put it together because I want to try to clean up my window over here where all my plants are. This is how my plants are set up right now. And I don't like it because I feel like those plants up there aren't actually getting any sun, really. I mean, my window is not a window that gets a lot of sun, so I use the grow lights. But I just feel like it's messy. I feel like there's nothing, the cats, they like it over here, but I just want to neaten this up. I want to make it cleaner. I'm going to throw on the audio and start Silver Elite while I attempt to put this thing together.
All right, so I finished. I'll turn you around and show you in a bit, but I think I figured out a way that it's gonna work best. Now, as far as this, I was listening while I was putting that together and getting everything situated. I'm 5 chapters in. And can I say that already, like, it is action right from the beginning, which I really liked. I do not like when it's just so slow building. So I do like that. And I still feel like I'm getting a sense of what's going on with the world that is happening here so far. Okay. I have a feeling, just based off of the fact that we're thrown right into the action, that the world building will happen throughout. At least I hope. At least I hope that the world building is not going to just like fall flat. So I do like that. But we have Ren, who is very, very powerful. Her abilities are extremely powerful, and therefore she must be protected. So that's how all of this starts out. She is targeted by, I forget who it is already, but she's being targeted because of her psychic powers. So I think she said it was like the Order. But anyway, and now I guess we're just gonna have to see how this turns out in terms of trying to infiltrate and take down the government from the inside. And when I get a little bit further in, I will check in and hopefully I can at least get halfway through by the time we get to closing Ketchupathon sprints tomorrow. Good morning. I am about to head out and go have afternoon tea with my friend Christine. And I listened to a little bit more of Silver Elite. Not much has happened since my last check-in. We have a situation where Ren gets caught or puts herself in the crossfire, possibly getting caught. And so all we have now is like an interrogation where they're just trying to basically catch her in a lie or whatever. So nothing really much has happened, but I'm going to go do that. I'll check back in later and we'll see how much I can get done. So it is closing sprints for Ketchupathon, and I am still reading Silver Elite. I also have my apple pie here. I got these little mini apple pies from the store because that's one of the challenges, so I figured I'd try it. I don't know how it's gonna taste. It's like not a name brand, so we'll see. But anyway, I got that. And so just a little check-in here. So this action, I'm liking some of the stuff that's happening, but there's a couple of things that are irking me. First of all, this is not dystopian. Like, I don't know why the synopsis has this listed as a dystopian. To me, this is more like a fantasy type, not even a full-on fantasy, but it's definitely not dystopian. When I think of dystopian, I think of like The Hunger Games or even, you know, Insurgent, or like, I know there's a lot more, The Handmaid's Tale, like, you know, there's a message behind it, a message to send about what's going on in the government. And while I feel like fantasies can also do that with how they address, you know, the governments and the systems and like, you know, the betrayers and things like that, I don't get dystopian from this. So that to me, whatever. So I'm skipping right over that. The idea of Ren being attracted to the whatever sergeant general, you know, like the big guy, the enemy, it's just not, like, I'm not captured by it because it's purely by his looks. Like, there's nothing there redeeming about him. There's absolutely nothing there that would make her want to like this guy. Like, usually when it's enemies to lovers, it's like in a fantasy or romantasy, you get these like few little glimpses of like, hey, he's just not like into what he's actually doing, but he's forced upon it, and I'm not getting that. Now maybe that could still come, but all I'm getting is a purely sexual attraction. Also, I can't really keep track of like all of these men who are like attracted to her. I don't know. I'm just like, whatever. I'm still gonna keep reading because I am enjoying like what's happening as far as, you know, why she's being put in the silver block of training and all these other things. But I just don't think that, I just don't buy the falling in love part yet. But it's still early on. So anyway, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna eat my little apple pies and continue to do sprints, and we'll see. I think I'm going to also pop in the audio for a little bit because I want to update my book journal and do that. But I'll check back in. I'm definitely not finishing this tonight. I will probably finish sometime tomorrow. So I'll have to extend my Ketchupathon by a day or two. Oh well. Okay, I look a mess because I decided I was going to bake some stuff today. I have a whole bunch of zucchini, so I just put chocolate zucchini bread in the oven. I shredded up some zucchini. I'm gonna do some zucchini fritters in a little while. Whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, I have a few thoughts. Check in, I'm just about done with Silver Elite. There is, in my opinion, no character development or even just like a layout of a character for Cross. All we get from Cross is his commander, I think he's the commander, or the captain. The commander is his father, the captain side of him. And usually when we get like an enemies to lovers, son of the commander, like person in charge, we get a little bit more of like a feel for who that person is outside of being like this important person and he just doesn't agree with what's going on and everything like that. And I don't get any of that from him. Like all we have is this straight-laced person, and yes, he is attracted to Ren. Yes, they have a mutual physical attraction, but there's nothing there on both ends indicating that they are falling for something deeper. Character, anything about their traits. And that bothers me because yes, while physical attraction, it needs to be there. This is a romantasy. I wanted to see more of that, and I'm just not getting that, or I didn't get that all the way up until about 70% of the book. There are some things that I kind of predicted from the very beginning. Reading enough, that was Nugget. There's our squirrel friend, I think, in the window, so he had to go say hi. But anyway, I've read enough romantasy, fantasy, whatever, to see what happened coming. There was like no hints or indication of that early on. Like I wanted to see that kind of a little bit throughout, not just like this big bam, here we go, it's in your face. So that bothered me a little bit. It's also bothered me that, and I can't say too much because then it's gonna spoil it if you're somebody who doesn't pick up on this from the very beginning. When we get to this point in the book where we get this aha moment, and he says some things, and I'm like, but if that were true, everything else that happened wouldn't have happened in the first place. I'm just gonna leave it at that. As far as Ren is concerned, I don't get enough of a deeper sense of who she is other than like she is getting. So I do like the internal struggle of the fact that she is now here in this program. She's forced to be in the program because of what happened with the beginning of the book, right? Right off the bat, we get the death of somebody important, and then she gets questioned and thrown into this program. And we know from the synopsis that she's going to go through this program for the resistance to try to take them down from the inside. So that's not a spoiler, that's all from the synopsis. None of that happens until we're more than halfway through the book. Then we get this point where she's now going to be a help. And then we get this internal struggle of she's making friends in her training group, but they're supposed to be the enemy, right? And she has to keep reminding herself of who these people are and how they feel about people who are like her mods. And so that internal struggle is interesting to see, but I wanted a little bit more of it, especially because we get to the point where we know that she's falling for the captain, right? And she has to keep reminding herself, like, he's the one who was doing all of this. Like, his father is the one in charge, and he is carrying out his father's demands. So I do like to see that internal struggle. I just wanted more of it. Am I enjoying this book? Yes. Is it the best? No, I've seen better, but it's definitely keeping me intrigued. I am just about done. I just got to like this big moment, and I need to see where this ends. And I think at this point, I am going to pick up the second book. I don't think I'm going to buy it. I think I'm just going to get it from the library. I am enjoying it enough as of this point to continue. So I am going to finish, and then I guess I'll give you my final overall thoughts. Well, I finished Silver Elite. So before I give you my final rating on this one, some things that were okay, but not the best for me was the character development, or should I say the lack of character development. I didn't really feel a lot of connections to any of the characters with the exception of a few. Some of them felt a little flat to me. For example, Cross. He's supposed to be this main love interest for Ren. But there's a few problems I have with that. I don't get any sense of his personality or any sense of what it is about Ren that he likes or is attracted to, except for the physical. There's some things that I can't really say about him because it's gonna go into too much detail about a spoiler, but you're saying some things that just don't match up with what you're doing. What you're saying, you're feeling does not match up with your actions. And some other things that I also didn't like is that he was so, like, I'm not a big fan of very forceful situations when it comes to like man or woman, but in this case, Cross is being very forceful with trying to get Ren to give in. And I don't like that. And I don't get a sense of like who he is or why it is that she's attracted to him other than the physical, or why it is he's attracted to her. You know, we get this typical, she's the perfect like female heroine, right? She knows how to do everything, but we don't, you know, she's guarded and she doesn't give any of her feelings away, things like that. And I feel like that's a common trope that kind of like, do I think this is a dystopian? No. It's not exactly fantasy, but it's definitely not your typical dystopian. I feel like it was trying to be, but it missed a lot of the big points of what a dystopian is. Like, I don't know if that's something that maybe we'll see in the second book. I was trying, but I don't get that. Like, I definitely get the message behind it. Obviously, we have the two sides, right? We have the continent, the ones in charge who are trying to eliminate the mods because they're, you know, the enemy or whatever. We do get this idea of possibly both sides obviously not being what they seem, both having their negative flaws, things like that. But I don't know. I do like a lot of what happened. Like, I do like a few of the characters. Kane is my favorite. There's some situations that I feel like were kind of predictable from the beginning. I knew it was going to end up that way. I would have been more surprised if it didn't, but I'm happy that it ended up that way. I'm just going to leave it at that. I like the idea that Ren has to struggle with this internal conflict, right? She's very attracted to the captain, but he's on the wrong side, right? He is part of these people who are locking up and enslaving the mods or killing the mods because of who they are. We also don't get a lot of why or what happened in the war that led to this in the first place. I mean, we get a little bit of that once we're like closer to, I mean, not quite halfway. So I would have liked a little bit more of that. But I do like her internal monologue where she has to realize, like when she starts making friends at the boot camp or whatever you call it, right? The training. And then she's like, wait, no, they're not my friends because of their beliefs. Like if they knew who I really was, they would be like, it would be an all out bloodbath. You know, they're still good people because in the end they're not. But there was just a lot of back and forth, and I don't think there was anything that was too fleshed out the way it should have been, and I'm maybe hoping that in the second book we get a little bit more of that. I did enjoy myself though. I would give this 3 stars. I mean, for what it was, realizing that it's not really dystopian the way I would have liked, and that I would have really liked to seen a little bit more character development. Other than that, though, it was enjoyable. It was okay. So I would give it 3 stars, and I would continue the second book. I think this was going to be a trilogy. I'm not going to buy it. I am going to get it from the library. The ending was a big cliffhanger, obviously. Other final thoughts on this? Don't get attached to anybody. Don't like anybody. Expect that anybody that you like probably is not going to end up where you think in the end. But literally, like, don't get attached to anybody because anybody in this book is fair game. With that being said, I'm gonna end on 3 stars. So there you have it. These are the 5 books that I got to for Ketchupathon, and I have to say, it was a pretty successful month. So just a last minute recap. of everything that I did and my final ratings. We got 5 more books off of my book of the month TBR. My book of the month vault has 5 more books off the shelves. Mad Mabel, I ended up with 4 stars. I liked it. There were a few twists and I definitely enjoyed where this went. It was a fun and quick read, and it just shows you that everything is not always as it seems. The Philosopher's Flight, I ended up with a very high 3.5 to 4 stars. I enjoyed this. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more action. I do know that there's a second one, but ultimately I do like where this ended up. I loved the concept of blending a bunch of different genres, a little bit of science fiction, a little bit of historical fiction, you know, a little bit of magic. So you got a little bit fantasy in here. This was just a really fun read, and I will be picking up the second book, and hopefully it's just as good. A Rogue of One's Own, I ended with 3 stars on this. I liked it. The ending was definitely more enjoyable than the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit bored in the beginning, and I almost considered DNFing it. I do like the ending of this. It is not your typical ending of what you would expect with these historical romances, so I did like that and enjoy that. But I don't know if I'm going to continue the rest of the series. I enjoyed the first book. I just don't know if I'm going to continue the rest of the series, especially because a lot of people in the comments of a lot of reviews are saying that this was the best one, that they love this so much better than the first one. So I don't know about that, but we'll see. If I do wind up picking up the third book, it's probably just going to be from the library. And then last but not least, Spinning Silver. I wound up DNFing it, but ultimately I was like over 200 pages in and just still bored out of my mind, not really knowing what the heck was going on. I really just was so lost most of the time, and it was not keeping my interest. I do see a lot of reviews saying that the end of this, or towards the end, the second half was definitely more fast-paced and a lot more action than the first half. But honestly, if I'm over 200 pages in and it has to take that long for it to be enjoyable, it's just not for me. Well, there you have it. That's 5 more books out of the Book of the Month vault, and I have to say, I made a pretty decent pie for Ketchupathon. I wound up having a sweet pie with a graham cracker crust, chocolate mousse filling with a lattice top, and whipped cream for my topping. I also participated in reviewing a book of the month, reading with an ambient room, participating in reading sprints, featuring a book of the month on social media, and eating some pie. So I wound up having 5 slices to share with my friends during Ketchupathon. And I'll put a nice little snapshot here of the page that I made in my book journal for that. Make sure you check back at the beginning of August to see what my new prompt is going to be for the Book of the Month vault and what book I'm going to pick for that. As always, leave me all your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the books that I read. If you've read them and felt the same way or felt completely opposite, you know I'd love to hear all your thoughts. Are you intrigued? Do you plan on reading any of these books? And if you're just a little too shy to comment, but you want to let me know that you were here, then leave me something to do with a pie down in the comments. Well, that's all I have for now. Bye.